A big hello to my young learners. Welcome to part 2 of the Transformation of Sentences Made Easy series. This tutorial on active and passive voice has been designed for you to acquaint you with the rules of conversion. You will learn a simple technique called palm rule technique. This technique will enable you to get the rules at your fingertips and make your learning easy and fun-filled. To help you develop a clear understanding, the rules will be explained with examples. At the end of this tutorial, you will find a self-check exercise to evaluate your own understanding. So stay with me till the end of the video. Before we move on to the rules of conversion, let's understand how to identify if the verb is in active or in passive form. In active voice, subject performs the action stated by the verb. It simply means the subject is the doer of the action. Whereas in passive voice, subject is the recipient of the action stated by the verb. The subject is not the performer or the doer of the action. Look at the example. I think that will make things clear. The captain cheered the team. Now in this sentence, the captain is the subject. And who is doing the act of cheering? It's the captain. So the subject is the doer of the action. The captain is doing the act of cheering, or did the act of cheering in this case. The team, here team is the subject, was cheered by the captain. The verb cheered. Now the team did not cheer. The captain cheered and the team received the cheering. Therefore, the team is not performing any work. It's not the doer of the action. Therefore, the verb is said to be in passive voice. I think it's clear, and so we can move on to the rules of conversion. Palm rule conversion. It simply means you have to follow 5 different steps or 5 different rules for conversion. So let's understand each rule in detail. Rule number 1. Identify the subject, object and verb. Look at the example here. My mother bakes delicious cakes. Subject, my mother. Bakes is verb. Delicious cakes is the object of the sentence. Now even the color codes will help you. So remember the color codes for subject, verb and object. Let's look at another example. Mr. Boom messaged Mr. Willie yesterday. So the subject is Mr. Boom. The verb is messaged and the object is Mr. Willie. Now we move on to rule 2. I hope rule 1 is very clear to all of you. Rule number 2. Swap the subject and the object, which simply means the subject of an active form becomes the object of the passive form, and the object of the active form becomes the subject of the passive form. Are you confused? Let's look at the example. That will take away all your confusion. My mother, this is an active sentence. My mother is the subject here, and what she does, bakes delicious cakes. So what does she bake? She bakes delicious cakes. Delicious cakes is the object. Now when we will be forming passive sentences, delicious cakes will become the subject of the passive form, whereas my mother will become the object. So it's like, X. Subject becomes the object and the object becomes the subject. Similarly, here Mr. Boom is the subject and Mr. Boom messaged Mr. Willie. Now Mr. Willie is the object. So now in the passive form, Mr. Willie becomes the subject and Mr. Boom becomes the object. Isn't it simple? So let's now understand rule number 3. Rule 3, the focus has to be only on the main verb of the sentence. The main verb must be converted into its third form, that is past participle form. Let's look at the example for better understanding. My mother bakes delicious cakes. Bake is the main verb. Bake is in present tense, baked past tense, and the past participle form is baked. So we have used baked here. This example is in simple past tense. Mr. Boom messaged Mr. Willie yesterday. Message is the main verb. Past tense of message is messaged and past participle is also messaged. So, to just sum up, we'll be using the past participle form of the main verb. Let's quickly run through an exercise recalling the past participle form of the given verbs. Come, go, hit, seek, slay, shoot, drink. Could you recall? Let's check. Well, come, came, come. Go, went, gone. Hit, hit, hit. Seek, sought, sought. Slay, slew, slain. Shoot, shot, shot. Drink, drank, drunk. So, we'll be using always the past participle form of the verbs in passive voice. So, I think you have done it. That's great. Let's move on to the next rule. Rule number 4. Identify the tense and add helping verb before the main verb. The helping verb must be in its be form, say is, are, was, were, and so on. Let's look at the example. My mother bakes delicious cakes. Now this sentence is in simple present tense. Therefore, we can either use is or are. Delicious cakes are baked. We have used are here because the subject is in its plural form. The next example, Mr. Boom messaged Mr. Willie yesterday. This sentence is in simple past tense. Therefore, we have used here the helping verb as was messaged. I hope it's clear. If not, don't worry. I'm going to provide you with a chart which will give you a clarity about helping verbs and its use. My dear learners, let's study this table very carefully. And I'm sure this table is going to give you a lot of clarity. Let's consider in active voice the verb is play or plays. In simple present tense, the helping verb is going to be either am, is or are. And of course, the main verb will take its third form, that is played. In simple past tense, the past form of am, is, are, that is was and were will be used. And in simple future tense, we'll be using shall be or will be. Now am, is, are, was, were, shall be, will be, all these will depend on the subject. Let's understand the progressive tense or continuous tense. Present continuous, is, are playing. Now here is, are being played. We'll be adding this word being. Past continuous, was, were, being. So it simply means in progressive or continuous tense, we are going to use this word being. Perfect tense. In present perfect, has, have played will change to has been or have been played. Past perfect, had played will take had been played. And future perfect will have played will change into will have been played. So in perfect tense we'll be using been. Now let's move on to the next rule, that is rule number 5. Rule number 5. Add by before the object. My mother bakes delicious cakes. Delicious cakes are baked by my mother. My mother is the object, and so we have placed by just before the object. Mr. Boom messaged Mr. Willie. Mr. Willie was messaged by Mr. Boom. So I believe you are absolutely ready to answer a test and assess your understanding of active and passive conversion. So let's get started for a test. So are you ready for an assessment? Here we go. You have 5 minutes time and each correct answer will fetch you 1 mark. The first question, children are making a lot of noise. Second one, he has brought some sweets. Third one, Mr. Vinod will write an application to the higher authorities. Number 4, the boys were eating chocolates. 5, he plays hockey every evening. The housing society built a complex on the roadside. That's the sixth one. Number 7, they were playing football. Number 8, he expected me to come at 10. Number 9, people listened to his song. And the last one, this little girl had won the first prize. So take some time, complete the exercise, and then we will check the answers. Let's check the answers. First one, children are making a lot of noise. A lot of noise is being made by children. Second one, he has brought some sweets. Some sweets have been brought by him. Third one, Mr. Vinod will write an application to the higher authorities. An application will be written to the higher authorities by Mr. Vinod. So did you get all correct? That's good. Let's move on to the next one. The fourth answer, the boys were eating chocolates. Chocolates were being eaten by the boys. Fifth, he plays hockey every evening. Hockey is played every evening by him. Number 6, the housing society built a complex on the roadside. A complex was built on the roadside by the housing society. The seventh one, they were playing football. Football was being played by them. So, where do you stand? Did you get all correct? That's really great. Let's move on to the eighth one. Moving on to the eighth one. He expected me to come at 10. I was expected to come at 10 by him. Number 9. People listened to his song. His song was listened to by people. Number 10. This little girl had won the first prize. The first prize had been won by this little girl. So, where do you stand? Did you get all 10 answers right? That's great. Excellent. But if you stand somewhere between 7 to 9, don't worry. You need to practice more. If you have got below 7, it simply means you need to go through the rules once more. With this, we come to the end of this tutorial. Stay safe. Stay happy. God bless you.